we talked about preparing the mind, offering the food. Okay, let's talk a little bit about eating the food. Okay, so the idea is to eat with presence, and to be aware of our food. One visualization that is quite nice is, because we've transformed the food into blissful wisdom nectar, is to imagine the Buddha, a small Buddha at our heart, and as we eat the food, we're offering these spoonfuls of nectar to the Buddha at our heart. And then, of course, the Buddha radiates light, and that fills our whole body with light and with satisfaction. Okay, that's the key in eating, is to feel satisfaction and contentment when we're eating, instead of restless desire and craving and complaining and everything else that goes along with that. So try that visualization when you're eating. And then the topic also has come up of what to eat. Okay, so here at the Abbey, we're vegetarian. I think more people in the country, and also in Europe and Australia and so on, are becoming vegetarian. People become vegetarian for different reasons. For a Buddhist reason, it's to avoid killing, the animals. Other people for health reasons, other people because they see the suffering the animals go through in, when they're raised, in indoor things and they can't move and so on, and butchered so savagely. So people have many different reasons, but I think whatever reason one has, another reason I should think, is because it's so bad for the environment, because the manure from the cattle produces a lot of methane that's very bad for the environment, and also to get enough food, at least for eating, cows and so on. You have to have so much grain, and so it's just so much grain for just comparatively little bit of meat. His Holiness recommends for the people who do eat meat to eat those larger animals rather than smaller animals, because at least if it's a larger animal, it's only one life lost, and many beings can, many meals can be served. Whereas with sea fish, for example, it's many living beings who die for, one meal, and same with chickens. His Holiness himself isn't a vegetarian. He says he's a part-time vegetarian, that he tried being a full-time vegetarian, and then his doctor told him he had to eat meat, so he does so part-time. But of course, when His Holiness is eating meat, there's a mantra to say to kind of bless the animal for allowing you, for strengthening, for giving up their life so that you can live, and to make dedication prayers for the animals so that they have a good rebirth, and that by the power of your eating, may you practice the Dharma well, and then be kind and share the Dharma with other living beings, and in a future life especially be able to lead that particular being who died for your lunch to enlightenment. Yeah, whatever people's reason, I think becoming vegetarian is very good. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't be too keen on offering my body for somebody else's lunch. So I don't know why cows and fish and chicken and turkeys and so on would want to offer their bodies for someone's lunch. Yeah. Now people often say, "Oh, but it's not good for your health." It's fine. I've been a vegetarian since I was 22, 23. Okay, so that's over 40 years. and I don't think it's harmed my health at all. I think my health has been pretty good. You take vitamins, you learn how to get your protein. And they say that also when you don't eat meat, or put it this way, when you do eat meat, that some of the energy of the animal, that's in the flesh, that energy is transferred to you. So the fear or the anger or whatever else is going on. And it is quite possible to learn to eat wisely and to be healthy on a vegetarian diet. Now, some people, one person came to the Abbey once and said, "Why aren't you vegan? And why don't you eat organic produce?" And he was quite upset about that. And I explained in terms of the being vegan that we were doing the best we could, and that if we asked, he said, "Why don't you ask for, why don't you eat, what do they call it, range-free eggs, where the chickens can wander around and have milk from cows that also can graze naturally. Why don't you do that? Because animals are suffering, for the milk and the eggs that you use." First of all, we use eggs that are not fertilized, because if you use fertilized eggs, that involves killing. But the thing is that those kind of items are more expensive, as are organic food. And if somebody, if you're a private party and you can afford that, it's definitely better, yeah? For us, we're renunciants, and we don't eat the food. We don't go and buy food. We only eat the food that is offered to us. And some people call us, and say, "What do you need?" But we don't like saying, that we want all this expensive food, because for us as renunciants, to eat better than the people who are offering the food to us does not make any sense. Okay? So when people say, "What do you need?" we just tell them whatever they buy is fine. I wouldn't consider that ethically proper to ask for things that are expensive that people wouldn't buy for themselves. But that's our situation here at the Abbey. Anyway, this one man, he got so upset because of that. He never came back, which I thought was really a pity. I felt sad about that. But he had very strong beliefs about what we should eat, and our way of living just, we're vegetarian, but like I said about the money thing, we just can't ask for that. Also, in eating, according to the Kriya Tantra, so the Kriya Tantra are practices like white Tara, green Tara, Manjushri medicine, Buddha, these practices that many kind of people do. And it says for Kriya Tantra, not only to be vegetarian, but to abandon onions and garlic and things from the onion family, like scallions, stuff like that, and also radishes. Now, it's very interesting because in Indian culture, these foods, especially the onion and garlic, are said to increase desire energy. In the West, garlic is said to be medicinal and very good for you. So there's different ways of looking at the same thing. What can I say? Yeah, so we're following the one that corresponds with our tradition. At first, people say, "You don't use onions? Your food must taste awful." Actually, our food tastes very good, doesn't it? Yeah, and you can eat perfectly fine without onions. I remember especially when I when I lead retreats, I tell people about this. And in Mexico, the person from the center nearly freaked out. He said, we have over 100 people coming and no onions. They're going to scream. I said, well, try it. And nobody screamed. It's fine. You can do that. Now, I'm not advocating that for everybody. I think, according to how you practice and your spiritual tradition and what you do. So that's what we do. I think the more important thing is being vegetarian, because that saves so many lives when we don't create the cause for other beings to die. We should try to eat something that is nourishing, because according to our motivations for eating, that we're looking at this food as wondrous medicine. And, I've developed this special ability to see cookies as wondrous medicine. Now, most people don't agree with me, Actually, I don't agree with me either, to tell you the truth. Yeah, but we should try and eat food that's healthy, okay? So some kind of balanced diet, not too many carbs, not too much, so much salt, so much sugar, so much oil. So not all the things that the food companies have done many tests on in order to see what people like the most so that they'll buy the most. Yeah, and so, oil, salt, and sugar win the prize there. But of course, all these things are not very good for our health. And if we're eating to sustain our body to practice the Dharma, we should also take care of our health so that we can have a strong body to practice the Dharma. Yeah, especially if other people are offering the food to us. So I think that entails keeping, a normal weight as best as we can, not being too thin, not being overweight, because those conditions bring health problems. And if we're saying we're eating to nourish our bodies so we should can practice, we should keep our body healthy. Yeah. So I feel that's something very important. And also people feel better when they keep a normal weight. Yeah, you just have more energy and you feel better. So, it's definitely an aid to practice. And I think, since we're accepting the food given by others, that we also make good use of it that way. Sometimes people give us a lot of sweets. We tend to give them away. I'm looking over there. Cookies. Cookies. Cookies, remember, they're good for you. Okay? Yeah. But, as much as we can to try it and eat in a balanced way and keep our health good. Actually, the food is the last sense thing of grasping and craving. We have many deeper graspings and cravings than that. Yeah. Because our craving for reputation and approval is much deeper. Overcoming attachment to food is nothing, they say, compared to overcoming attachment to reputation, love, approval, appreciation, and these things. Okay? So, we have to define contentment for eating a little bit differently. And can we, when, for example, I know for myself, when I keep a normal weight, I feel much better. That brings a sense of contentment right then and there. It doesn't bring the contentment of stuffing myself full of cookies, but stuffing myself full of cookies doesn't bring me contentment either. It makes me feel ill afterwards. Okay? So we have to really look at what contentment means. Yeah? Because we'd often, I don't know about you, but I don't listen to my stomach, I listen to my craving. And the craving does not bring contentment in the long run. When I feel healthy, I feel much more content. Yeah? And so to use that as the definition of contentment for ourselves, instead of just eating a lot of the kind of food that's not very good for us, that makes us feel bad about ourselves. Okay? So you're saying eating in a healthy way and eating nourishing food is a practice of gratitude and appreciation for all the people, all the living beings, for the rest of the universe that has provided the food to us. Yeah. And if we can eat with a mind that says, I'm appreciative for all the sources of the food, the people who planted it and harvested it and transported it and cooked it and whatever. So he goes in the grocery store and thanks all the people who load the food on the shelf, which is hard work, Yeah, and so if you have this in mind, we already covered I contemplate all the causes and conditions and the kindness of others by which I have received this food. That is what we contemplate. And then if you continue, not just say it by your mouth, but you continue to think that, then eating is definitely a process of feeling very grateful to others who provided the food for us.